Welcome to the Cherland podcast, where I, Cherland, meet up with a musician, share songs, stories, questions, learn about what makes creative people work. On today's episode, we have Hana Aluna, who is so sweet, and I think you're going to get a lot of insights about what it's like to be in the music industry from her, especially someone who's not fitting into the typical narrative for the music industry. So I hope you get a lot out of it. Please have mercy on me because there was a leaf blower mixed with a chainsaw that was going on at the very beginning. So there's going to be some heavy editing in the beginning, and then it'll be gone later. Cool. Well,
Cool.
Well, hello.
Hello.
Tell me about your day. What did you woke up? Then what'd you do?
I'm not gonna lie to you. I spent this whole morning playing Animal Crossing.
Oh yeah.
I did.
And what did you accomplish?
I paid off my mortgage, actually.
Which one?
The first one.
The first one.
Yeah.
Okay, so what do you have? Just a house?
I just have a house right now.
Just a single room house.
Single room. It's going to be a double room tomorrow.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that'll be the day.
And that'll be the day.
Yeah. What are you gonna put in the room?
I don't have any furniture yet.
Okay, great.
Yeah. So really making progress.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. Are you just catching fish right now to pay off your mortgage? What are you doing for money these days?
It's a mix of cicadas.
Cicadas, right? Because we're in the season of cicadas.
That's the only thing right now.
Yeah.
And then I got pretty lucky with some fish from the ocean because those are like the more rare ones go out there. And then just like selling all my peaches. And
Great. Do you have any foreign fruits right now?
No,
just
I
native,
don't.
Just native peaches. Great. Just little
peaches
butts
everywhere.
on the trees.
There's all these butts on the trees.
Perfect.
And I'm selling all of them.
And I'm selling them full price, 200 bells per peach. I'm not making bargains with the Nooks, people.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. While this lovely chainsaw goes on, would you be interested in playing a song?
I would.
'Tis the mood.
I know. I'm really glad that he did set the mood. Okay, let's see. This is one that I recently put on SoundCloud. Recently wrote it, and it's called "Not About Lizzy." I'm very, very, very much into like denial songs. Very much like "I Get Along Without You Very Well," like kind of songs where the whole theme is like I don't want to be talking about what I'm talking about right now. And I kind of wrote it in that sort of meta, like singing about how much I don't want to write a song about this girl. So
that's very I'm Not Okay.
Yeah.
Chemical Romance.
Yes. Yeah. Or I think there's one. I mean, there's
a lot.
Many.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I've always been kind of into that denial kind of meta vibe. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Go for it.
Cool. Don't wanna write a song if it's about Lizzy. I don't wanna write a song about her honey eyes. And I don't wanna write a song 'cause that would be too damn cheesy. So I won't. But I don't wanna go out if it's not with Lizzy. I'll sleep until noon and stay in my room till she calls. If it wasn't for her, I would be so damn lazy. she makes me smile more than anyone. Don't be mistaken, please don't. The last thing I want is to write a song about Lizzy. So I won't. So I won't. Maybe it's too late to show this to Lizzy, 'cause she's in love with some charming man who loves her. And that's really fine, 'cause I never write about her anyway. The song's not about how she makes me smile more than anyone. Don't be mistaken, please don't. The last thing I want is to write a song about Lizzy. So I won't. So I won't. So I won't.
Right. That sounds great.
Did it? Could you hear it?
I mean, yeah, I'm right here, you know.
I mean, yeah.
Will we be able to hear it afterward? That's to be determined.
Yeah.
But whether or not I can hear it here, for sure. And it sounds great. That song's very lovely.
Thank you.
When I heard it, I was thinking about Lizzy McAlpine, because
I was hoping that people would think it was about her.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, for sure.
because we're all wanting to write songs about Lizzy McAlpine.
I know,
right now.
that's that's typical.
She just released the track list to her new
I know,
full
I
length.
saw. I can't wait.
We're all very excited.
Yeah.
The internet waits.
Literally. Yeah.
That's cool. So you like the song that's not about something? Did you have other songs that you really enjoy from that catalog?
I mean, the one that really comes to mind is I Get Along Without You Very Well. I base a lot of songs off of that, and
Okay. Who sings that?
I feel like it's like one of those songs that many people did, but I love the Chet Baker version.
Okay, cool.
Or maybe it was just him, but it was from that era where everyone was doing everything. So
Sure.
I feel like it was written earlier. But
Cool.
but he does a gorgeous version of that song. And yeah, I mean, I sat down to write one night, and I was just kind of laughing to myself that the only thing I wanted to write about was this girl.
Yeah.
And so I kind of, my first thought was like, well, I don't want to do that. And then I was like, perfect, you know?
And that's all I need.
That's all I need. And then I just took off. Yeah.
When did you start writing songs?
When I was 9, I wrote my first song.
Okay. Do you remember what it was about?
It was probably some sort of sappy, I like someone type song.
Right.
That's usually, still to this day, it's like mostly what I write about is
Right.
like, in the last couple years, I finally managed to start writing about like myself or different topics about things that I'm going through, different like things about my anxiety or
Yeah.
things like that. But for so long, especially through high school and through the first couple years of college, it was all just like relationships, like unrequited love, all this stuff. And
only unrequited love.
Only unrequited love, because I'm an indie
That's
artist.
the only thing I experienced. I've never felt reciprocal love.
Well,
and that's how it feels.
I literally wrote, the last song I wrote
is called I've Never Experienced Unrequited Love.
I've Always Been Alone by Hana and I wrote, literally the last song I wrote was about how a lot of artists, but specifically in like certain genres, kind of get addicted to unrequited love for the content.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Tell me more.
Yeah. I know a lot of artists who are kind of addicted to kind of surrounding themselves with the wrong things so they have things to write about.
Yes. Yeah.
And they think that that's the only way to create. And I grew up with artists like that, and I know artists like that, and
sure.
I didn't want to do that to myself. But I find the only way, if I do find myself in that mood, is to do a sort of meta thing and make it almost like I'm making fun of it. Honestly, that's my coping mechanism. So
if you're not being self-destructive,
I gotta
where do you find your inspiration? Making joke about things that are self-destructive?
I mean, I've always been pretty self-deprecating, I think. So if I think recently one of my friends was like, you like laugh every time you're sad, right? And I was like, yeah, I didn't actually know that before they said it.
Just like a nervous tick.
Yeah, almost. It's like I do
thing.
like a little giggle. And it's like, why?
I do it when I'm scared too.
Yeah. And I get finding the inspiration for it.
That's fine. You don't
I mean,
gotta
I
go
think
there.
in like kind of like what we were saying before, all the like comedians that are our favorites are kind of a bit more self-deprecating, a bit more able to find the humor in the silly things that they do or the sad things that they do. When he was still like A-OK, I really loved Louis C.K.
I mean, because
and his kind of self-deprecating jokes, I thought they were the best. He did it the best for sure.
Tell me more about this self-destructive behavior in musicians, because
will this turn into therapy?
I've noticed it a ton, and that's one of the I think one of the cool things about me becoming a musician at the same time I got married was this really grounding thing where like I wasn't getting sidetracked by all these girls and all these things that were happening, and certain opportunities would present themselves and I wouldn't chase them, and so I could just focus on the job and do the job well.
Oh, interesting.
And I feel like, or I felt like that was a good thing. I still feel like it's a good thing where like it keeps my brain on what we're here to do, which is like make the good art, not like hook up all the time. Right. Which like if you get yours along the way, good for you. Just remember why you're there. Right, exactly. And especially going to school with a lot of musicians who were like only going to the bar every night, only getting their heart broken every day, but it was not something that they were like, they didn't want to change it because it was working for them, and that was the problem. Yeah. Do you watch Avatar: The Last Airbender? I do. Yeah, so this is the whole Zuko arc. Yeah, exactly, yes. And I bring this up, and I think this is why that's one of the most important things you can bring up from Avatar: The Last Airbender, is like realizing that the nature of firebending is not death and destruction. It was supposed to be like light and color. Cool, so who do you want to emulate? Like, how do you structure your life so that you're not like what are like your behaviors that are? I mean, the thing about me, I this is so typical, but I feel like I've always kind of been the fish out of water when it came to the music industry and like the typical way like a musician behaves, and I've always been, like not much of a drinker, not a partier at all, like even through high school, like nothing. It's illegal to drink in high school, just so we're clear. We don't condone this. I'm not condoning it, but I was. But just also know that you'll be considered a nerd. Maybe.
but also
Let's
I
just
was
also
apparently
be
a
real.
loser
Yeah.
for not doing that.
Yeah.
But I've always kind of been kind of antisocial, not really knowing what to say, not like timing. I like sometimes when I'm talking to people, I'll like count to 3 in my head and it'll never go well. And like I just
Why do you count to 3?
because I got nervous.
When do you count to 3?
When I met Harry Styles, I counted to 3.
Wait, so okay. Let's just go
That
through the
explains
situation.
that, right?
Hold on. So when something like something has made you nervous.
Yeah.
So there's nervous stimulus,
Yeah.
and then you count
I'll like
to 3.
tell myself to breathe.
Okay.
But then in that amount of time that I'm telling myself to breathe, they are wondering what is wrong with me.
Okay, so you're frozen.
Mm-hmm.
You're just okay. So you're straight faced, and so
I probably look down or something.
first off, you tell yourself to breathe,
So-
and then you
and
count
then
to 3.
I count to 3.
That's
it's a total of like 5 seconds.
That's a lot of time,
Yeah.
especially when all Harry Styles probably said was hi,
Hi.
and then you.
It was when he was leaving. So
Yeah.
I was gonna say like have a good night
Have
or
a
like
good
a
night,
normal
yeah,
person, you know.
yeah.
And then
And you said have a 5.
and then,
And then I had to pay him $5.
have a 5. And then he was like, "Wow, no fans, just pay me when I meet them."
That's nice.
That's nice. That's generous.
That'd be cool. You know, it'd be a baller move.
What?
You take a $20 bill out of your pocket and you're like, or like whatever it is, and you'd be like, whatever money you have in your pocket, can you sign it and give it to me? I'll trade you for this. Because chances
Wait, I'll
are
give him.
you're gonna give him money for his money, but he's gonna make a profit, and you're gonna get papers with his signature on it, and it'll be money. So
Am I gonna like frame the
even if-
$20 bill?
yeah, that's way cooler than a piece of paper. Think about a piece of paper. Whatever piece of
Yeah.
paper you're carrying, it's nothing.
Yeah.
What
You're
is
right.
it?
This
It's a
actually has
to-do
value.
list.
Yeah.
Do you want Harry Styles' signature on your to-do list?
I want his signature on anything.
Yeah, you want not on your to-do list. I wouldn't want my own handwriting to besmirch the glory. Okay, cool. So that's exciting. So is there a career you're emulating yourself off of, or like who do you look to as like inspiration? You like Phoebe Bridgers?
Love Phoebe Bridgers.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I take it that means you also like Julian Baker and Lucy Dacus.
Yes. The
The-
Boy Genius
yeah.
EP is one of my favorites for sure.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. I think the first person that comes to mind, because she's always been my favorite, is Emily King. And
Okay.
I think she writes about, especially in her most recent stuff, but even way before in her early stuff too, she really writes about like the ways that she's actually helping herself and getting out of a toxic relationship and building herself up from from feeling like nothing.
Yeah.
And she has this one song that I was listening to this morning from her earlier stuff called The Switch. And it was just it was such a classic, kind of her usual sassy kind of like I don't have time for someone who's not paying me any mind, and
Sure.
and I just love the way that she can write about that so like poignantly, and so not just like kind of like screw you type thing, but very like classy in a way that's just like, well, okay, you keep doing your thing and I'll go like soar over there. And it's just I would say that the way she's done things and the way she holds herself and the way she kind of like demands that respect, I admire so much.
Cool.
And I'm still learning how to ask for what I want, demand that kind of respect. Because as a girl in the industry, and I even have it easier because I'm a white girl in the industry.
Sure.
So like the problems that I have, they're still not as bad as it could be in this industry. But I've never been listened to by any sound guy. I've never, not once,
Well,
I say turn me up, they're like, you're a little mouse.
Sound guys, there's a lot to do with sound guys. Like, I've always had problems with sound guys.
Really?
Always. I mean,
Maybe
I feel
it's
like
just
it's a very same thing where like
Yeah.
I play a very beta role in all scenarios. And so when I meet a woman, we jive very well because we're both like, oh, look, we can collaborate.
Right.
And if I meet an alpha guy, he's like, great, I'm in charge.
Right.
And I'm like,
exactly.
oh, for sure.
For sure. I was going to ask you what you wanted anyway. That works for me.
One of my favorites is something goes wrong and I'm immediately getting blamed. And they're like, what did you do? I'm like, I don't know. What did I do?
Would you tell me what I did, and I probably did it. That one Mulaney joke. You could pour hot soup in my lap, and I'd probably apologize to you.
Is this when he's talking about manners? And he's like...
Which one was it? When he was talking about Delta Airlines.
I love when he talks about who's the really famous musician that was on SNL.
When he was talking about Stones.
Yeah. Anyway, that guy, and he's like... Mick Jagger. And he's like, he just yells, and he goes, yes! No! And he's like, I was told you have to say, may I please have this, please?
Yeah.
And then you might get it.
Yeah. I go, knock, knock. I say knock, knock out loud. But Mick Jagger isn't going to walk into a room and be like, hey, does anyone have a laptop charger I can borrow? So good.
I'm glad that we've both memorized John Mulaney. That feels good.
Yeah, that is
good.
A good use of our time.
Okay, other ways that you've also, you don't fit the musician mold.
I'm just not very outgoing.
Okay.
And when a lot of musicians, a lot of musicians that I know, like the one that comes to my mind obviously because I've had the most history with him is like Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
When he walks into a room, he like has this presence about him that's like, I'm here to talk to everyone here.
Sure.
And they want to talk to me. And I admire that about those people. I have never been like that.
So when you enter a room, what do you say? You just count?
I count to 3.
I enter a room and I say to myself,
have a good night.
Breathe. And then after I've breathed, then I say, now, listen, we're going to count to 3 and find a corner.
I don't tell myself to listen. Listen to me. Hana, focus.
Hana.
We're going to count to 3.
Hana.
You're going to...
No, don't look there. Eyes are closed right now. It's like just us.
A chihuahua in the room. No, I think I just never know what to say. I just get really scared about saying the wrong thing, so I'll say nothing.
Have you said the wrong thing before?
Oh, I get foot in the mouth syndrome constantly.
That's great.
Yeah.
Can you give me an example?
Usually I hate talking bad about people. The couple times in my life that I have, they've been right behind me.
Perfect.
Yeah.
That's great.
So that's why I don't do it.
It's a great lesson. In general, I think it's a good thing to not talk bad about people.
Right.
It's something, if I'm going to talk bad about people, I actually make sure my house is locked down.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And then I like really let my wife know how I feel. And I'm like, I need to say some things.
Right, because sometimes you do. Because it's not,
within your inner circle only,
yes.
And you need to make sure it's like this full cone of silence because it needs to not get out.
It cannot get anywhere. Yeah. So the one time, and it's been total little things. It's like, oh, don't you hate when she always does that? And then she's like right there, and I'm like, my mom, I hate when she does that. Yeah.
She also does that thing that you do, but I'm not talking about it.
No, she's And then, but I like meeting people for the first time. If I like. I play at Soho a lot, and there I feel entirely fine to talk to everyone in the room because I know everyone because I've been there before. I like know the territory.
Sure.
But if I was going to a party,
even if you haven't met them previously.
Yeah, because I'm in like familiar environment.
Okay.
But if I'm in someone's house that I've never been before, if there's especially with like I go to. Sometimes, or not now, before, would go to parties with like lots of musicians that were like local musicians in town that they were all together for something. A lot of musicians in a room, like that pushes me to the corner because it's like you have so many of those big presences in the same house.
Right.
And all of them are like, I have things to say. And I'm just like, I'll just let you talk and I will listen.
Yeah.
And then later I'll be mad because I'll be like, no one wanted my opinion on anything. It's like, well, Hana, you didn't speak, you know?
Sure.
So trying to get a hold of that.
In that scenario, what do you think you do have to add? Like, there's, I mean, as songwriters, we're trying to say something, and we're writing because we have contributions to the world.
Absolutely.
So what is it that you want to contribute, or what is it that you want to be? Like, what's one of the things you feel like you're bringing to light?
Oh, I mean, like you said, it's the whole point is we feel like we do have something to say here. And I really had to search for a long time with like what my voice really was, especially coming from a family of musicians, from having a dad who has been a musician his whole life. I felt like there was a really big shadow kind of cast on me, and I didn't know how to get out from under it. Sure. And most of my time being a musician, I like earning where I get to. I like earning things and earning my place in a community. And for a long time, and I mean still very often, I usually get the phrase of like, oh, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, and then it immediately like discredits all the work that I've done. So and it's not like they do that on purpose. Like, I know they mean it as a compliment, you know, but it's like they don't know. But it actually
shuts you down.
But it shuts me down. And so for a long time I was like, well, I don't even want a voice in this community if it's gonna get shot down every time.
Right.
But then moving past that, and especially using my middle name in my music, I'm like, I still have a voice here. I still have something to say. I think the thing that I always feel like I can add to it is I like talking about the really personal, vulnerable things that people don't really like talking about.
Sure.
And writing about, I mean, I feel like more artists are kind of doing this nowadays, which is really good. But when I wrote a song about realizing that I was queer and not knowing literally what was happening, you know, and not knowing who I was, not knowing
Puberty's
what was
happening.
Yeah, I know. Now I'm going through like a second puberty, you know, because it's like
it's a puberty of the art.
A puberty of the art, and I feel like I'm not one of those artists that are in it for the spotlight or are in it for, and that, I mean, it's fine if they are, you know, but I've always liked kind of like what we were talking about, behind the scenes stuff. I've always liked being, I always wanted to be a background singer because I wanted to be the reason in my eyes why the song was beautiful. And I think while I'm in a room of all these musicians that want to be up front, I felt like I was one of the musicians that was helping build the foundation, and I saw more value in that for myself than if I wanted, because it's easy to go to a record label and say, hey, I'm Kenny Loggins' daughter. Do you want to sign me?
Sure.
They would say, do you want to be a famous pop artist? And I'd be like, absolutely, sign me up. And they're like, sign right here, you know. And that it could take an hour, and I don't. It could be an hour.
Which is a phrase everyone can say, you know.
That was the thing that I, growing up, many people told me that I had that option.
Yeah.
And I hated that so much because I wanted to work for it, and I had, I'm rambling so much, which is the title of my EP. But I I ramble.
Everything that I said previously to this is the title, and then at the bottom it says the subtitle is I'm rambling so much.
The whole cover is just every sentence. No, sorry, I'm just rambling so much. I think what I have to add is kind of a voice for the people who feel like they can't really relate to anything that artists are talking about right now, and the people that are questioning what's going on around them and what's going on in their own bodies, and kind of the moments in between, I guess, I really like talking about, not the falling in love and not the breakup, but the like, what if I just said yes to this? Like kind of the nerves of it, and the kind of like quiver before the shake I like talking about. Is that weird?
Shaking is also quivering.
The quiver before the explosion. That's not it either, is it?
That's a different thing we're talking about now.
I'm gonna get this right, and then you can edit it. The quiver.
I think you mean the Quaker before.
No.
The Quaker, the technology-less religious group.
The Quaker before the
Quaker
shake.
before the shake. Quaker before the shaker. I think that's what you meant.
You got it. Let's edit it there.
Perfect.
What there is a phrase though, isn't there?
I'm sure. I'm sure there's some phrase that you're referring to. The calm before the storm.
Well, yeah, but that's
a Fall Out Boy song. Who cares?
I'll think of it. At the very end of this podcast, I will say the right phrase.
The sizzle before the steak. There's a lot we could say. The before moments, the in between moments. Yeah.
The really personal things and the vulnerable things that people don't really like talking about in public. Mm-hmm. I really like doing. So, because I find that more people can relate to those. The situation, if I'm writing about a situation and I think to myself, like, well, no one's going to relate to this. Like, it's so personal. I find more people relating to that.
Right.
And I guess I just want to be that artist that someone can say, hey, I had no idea what was going on. I felt totally alone. I felt totally lost. And then I heard your song. And that's kind of, I think that was like my first goal when I started writing folk and started kind of telling the stories that I wanted to write. I knew I wanted to be that artist for people because so many artists have been that for me.
Yeah. I have a very similar motivation, and one of the things I've always wanted to write love songs that were very specific to the kind of love I experience, and I hate love songs that are over the top.
Uh-huh.
So I wanted my my love songs to be very specific, and one of them was like Christina Perry's 1,000 Years. Remember when that was like really popular? I was like, she's like, I have died every day waiting for you for 1,000 years. Yeah. First off, Edward Cullen is not 1,000 years old, so that's their first plot hole. Second off, he doesn't die every day.
Right.
Because he just met her. So really, before this, everything was fine.
He was a normal vampire.
He was a normal vampire living with a family, which most vampire. He was living a great life.
Yeah.
With superpowers. And I was thinking, I was like, what are the things I would do for my wife? And I was like, oh, I would cross the ocean for her, like using a plane or a boat. I would not swim an ocean because that's suicide. And my wife doesn't need that. In any scenario where she's trapped on the other side of the sea, me dying on the way serves her in no way.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we don't even have life insurance. So she wouldn't get much. So yeah, this song is I'm gonna play you a song now. And this is I'm making an album called Love Songs, and they're all very straightforward. and this is called Gotta Have You.
Nice.
Like a little kid in need of a friend, like a knot needs a rope, or a river must bend. I needed you more than I knew. I'm starting to think you're a lot less weak for need than me too. Every I needs a dot, every T a cross. I'd cross the ocean for you if you'd have me. I gotta have you. I used to eat a burrito 3 times a day in the same old way, from a microwave oven I owned, until you came along and you gave me an enchilada. It was wetter, better, the texture is great. If that's not a metaphor, tell me what ain't. Every I needs a dot, every T a cross. I'd cross the ocean for you if you'd have me. I gotta have you. Oh, sometimes I worry just how I screw this up. The mind's an awful thing I found, till I think about her smile. She says, boy, just loosen up. Maybe we could have a good life. Every I needs a dot, every T a cross, and I'd cross the ocean for you if you'd have me. Every I needs a dot, every T a cross, and I'd cross the ocean for you if you'd have me. If you'd have me, girl, if you'd have me, I gotta have you.
Love that. That's awesome.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, really good.
Since how long would you say you've been in this industry?
Like seriously working, like working, writing every day, wanting to release music. I would say 3 years.
What do you feel like in those first 3 years? Because the first 3 years you learn a lot.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the big takeaways you feel like you've gone?
Oh gosh.
And when you say working, like what is?
I mean like because I kind of caught myself, because at first when I said working, I kind of meant like working hard, you know. I was like, working, money, not the same thing.
Arts are kind of a weird thing like that.
It's kind of a mix.
Yeah, where like the first time you make money is kind of the culmination of a thing, not necessarily the time that you started.
Yeah.
You know.
So sorry, what was the question again? What have I learned in the first 3 years?
What do you feel like you've learned in the first 3 years?
I think just a lot about kind of the artist that I want to be, and that has just kind of been a lot of seeing the types of artists that I didn't want to be,
right,
and taking from that and wanting to be really vulnerable, really raw in my work. I have had Jackson help produce this EP that we're working on, and we've argued several times over how much air is in all of the recordings, because I really actually like having like the birds and the wind and the cars.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Like I don't want that to come out.
Interesting.
And he, as most artists, are like, you know, if you recorded this with the windows closed, it'd be much better quality. And I was like, well, I did it this way.
Okay. Question.
Yes.
Do you record every track with the window open?
I the last few I have recorded with the windows closed.
Okay.
But I still get some, like, I just like it sounding really natural, and I like it sounding really intimate.
Sure.
So one of the songs I recorded with the windows closed, but still made Jax record outside his bedroom for the crickets and the wind, so that we could still have it.
Yeah.
Because I like it being that intimate, and I like it being that raw. But, so I think a lot about the type of artist that I want to be in the audience that I am kind of targeting, but as well just learning how to say, going back to kind of what I was talking about before, saying what I need as a girl in the industry. I, a couple years ago, went on this really short kind of along the coast tour with this local band, and they were very nice, but a lot of the sleeping situations that they picked were pretty sketch. And as a girl, it was like these 6 guys with one other girl who was the wife of one of the guys, and me, who was their opener.
Yeah, so her sleeping situation is determined. Yours is up in the air.
I was up in the air, and the first night, and I love them so much, so this is no comment on them, but just the situation was just funny. It was our first night. We were in San Diego. We sang at a biker bar. I sang at a biker bar.
As you do.
And they really liked Tennessee whiskey.
Yeah.
Nothing else.
Of course.
But I won them over there, and that night.
You played it.
What?
You played it.
I played it.
Nice.
Oh yeah, I had to. I was like, this is the real
There's only one
kicker.
way I make you happy at all.
Yeah. After singing like my little folk songs.
Yeah.
But that night we were getting to this Airbnb that they chose at like 1 a.m. and we get there and it turns out to be this like total illegal hostel.
Dang.
And it had like all these mattresses all over the ground with shower curtains separating all the mattresses, and all these like sleeping bodies. There was someone vomiting in the bathroom.
Jeez.
And I called a friend and I was like, I don't know how I'm supposed to sleep here. And they were like, well, I thought you wanted to go on tour.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is the problem. As a girl, as a guy, in that situation, you choose a couch and you sleep on it.
Sure.
As a girl, I don't have that luxury. And
can you explain why? I mean, I can infer why, but
safety wise,
yes.
I do not have that luxury. Not even because it was, I'm a clean freak, but if there was a couch, and it was like friends of theirs, like I maybe, but even then, I don't know them.
Right.
I don't know all these guys. There were 2 beds split between the whole band, so I'd have to sleep next to some of these guys.
Right.
I was not up for that.
Right.
And I didn't like that was what it took to tour. Yeah. And I kind of saw in that moment, like, I want to be someone who can try their best to rewrite this. Like, it doesn't have to be this way. I don't want other girls who want to be in this industry think that they have to do this to be here. Yeah. And so I think that's a big thing that eventually I really want to kind of teach other girls who who want to be in the industry that they don't have to do it their way. Right. They can do it their way. Yeah. there. Yeah. And
that's thunder. That's the sound of someone with a giant baking sheet.
I'm glad we were on the same page.
Yeah.
So I think I kind of learned from that, and of course when I did kind of speak up about it, I was worried. People are gonna call me a diva. People are gonna call me high maintenance because
just a general wuss.
Yeah. But as a girl saying I can't sleep here, I can't do this. Yes. it immediately goes to there's a problem with us.
Right.
And
versus the system.
Right. And
Yeah.
I definitely want to help rewrite that.
Right.
Yeah.
That's interesting. One of the interesting things that I found so annoying about when I first got married and when I first went on my tour is how adamant she was about making sure that we had the right food and the right places to sleep, and that we were going from like, we're going to stay with people we know, but we're also just going to get an Airbnb, and it has to be a good Airbnb.
Yeah.
Like, we're going to be like vetting them, we're going to be doing
Yeah.
all these things. And I was like, you're so particular.
Yeah.
And it was like, and I was like, this
You
could
won't
just be
let me
easy.
sleep on the floor. Yeah.
I was like, this could just be easy. And
that's like all the guy musicians that I know, because they have that passion for that work that I do admire, they are kind of willing most of the time to be like, I'll sleep on someone's floor.
Right.
I'll eat pizza every meal. I don't care. I want to, tour. And I was like, that's not what it has to be.
Right.
But starting up, people think that's the only option.
Right.
Because you're paying for it yourself.
Right.
You're probably just in your car
Right.
with all your gear, no crew or anything. So,
Exactly.
so you think, okay, I just have to deal with this. And I mean, definitely, it's just navigating that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's bad advice that you feel like you've received in all this when it comes to like, oh, I thought you wanted to tour, or like,
Yeah.
like, I don't know, get freaking tougher.
Yeah.
Like, what has someone given you advice and you've been like, oh, bad advice?
Yeah. You should use your last name.
You should use your last name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You would get into the industry if you used your last name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What would you lose if you did? Because you already said that you want to earn it on your own.
Yeah.
So what, like, do you feel like it would, you would have lower self-worth if you were to do it, or?
Yeah, I think what hurt me in those cases was just the point that, was the point that wasn't the point for me. I didn't want to, I didn't want to be the next pop star.
Yeah.
I didn't want to get there
So
fast.
they misunderstood your goal at the premise of the question.
Yeah.
Which
yeah.
was like, oh, you're trying to go here? And you're like, well, no, I'm not
And
trying to go there.
And that was the problem,
Yeah.
was like most people, when they, just because it's like society's norms, is like if someone is a musician, they're like, oh, you want to be famous.
Yes.
And so obviously they were like, if you want to be famous, you have an easy option.
You
it's
are
right there. And I'm like, no, that's that's not the way I want to get there. And if I did want to go there,
So what is there, like, I want to get there? Are you defining there as like, I want to make a significant impact on a niche group of people in my way with my voice?
Yeah, I think that, I mean, I definitely, I want to have my, I want to be a small artist of my own. Like, I want to be kind of like a sort of known indie folk artist. But I really want to write for other artists. And that's kind of the main goal. And I want to write for movies. I want to write for television. That's what I was doing through my first couple years of college and what I'm going back to college to do. And
you are going to go back to college?
I am.
Oh, geez.
I know.
Wait, like actually,
like this
you will
fall.
physically go?
No, not this fall.
You will online
Spring.
go?
Yeah. The online go this fall.
You will online go this fall?
Hopefully in person go spring.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, transferring as a junior, and I should have graduated this past spring. So
oh, dang.
It's an interesting path.
Yeah.
But I just know that I want to be able to do music, but I don't always want to be on a stage. So what are my options for that? And I really love hearing my music behind a scene. I feel like I can add a lot to something with that. And it's actually been one of the things that, like, I am not a very confident person.
But I like the tone with which you said that phrase.
It was like so
You were
weak.
trying to say it as weak as you could.
I'm not a very
so as to
confident
emphasize,
person.
but I'm good at emphasizing the point.
But the one thing that I have been actually very confident in is writing for like short films in town. Anyone who says, I want you to score my film, I know I will give them something that they will like.
Cool.
And that's been something that I've been able to hold on to and work with. And I have completely lost track of the question.
No, it's cool. I mean, it's the question is bad advice, and
Right.
You finding your own way, and you like being able to make it,
and redefining what it means to make it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you define that? Just make money, just like have enough money to live.
I think for me to make it, kind of like you said, to make a big impact, I think would be the biggest thing for me.
And you're defining big impact as like, I'm a well-known kind of smaller indie artist, like.
Yeah, I think for me a big impact would even just be I don't know, even now when just one person will message me and say, I've been going through this really hard time, but I've been going through your SoundCloud and it's been getting me like through this anxiety or through this situation, like that's kind of all worth it to me. Cool. In that moment. And so I think to make it would be to impact people that way, to really help them get through confusing moments in their life and feel like in those moments where they think there couldn't be possibly anyone that has experienced what I'm experiencing right now, I want them to know that they're not alone in that. And then the second thing I think is to kind of to have enough money to give and make an impact that way.
Yeah.
My mom, raised me always to believe that if you have more, it's just more to give. So I always want to pay it forward that way. And I all my favorite actresses and musicians are always the ones that have like started their own organizations and like given to flown to all these different places to help people. And I don't know, I think that would be worth it to me, to be able to give like that.
Yeah Giveaways, little buttons that say it, count to 3.
You'll help me with my merch then, is what I'm hearing.
Count to 3 is like a pretty cool album name.
Count to 3. But that's, people are like, oh, like music? Like, 1, 2, 3.
I like that was your sign language for music.
Come on, dude. I'm kind of from the 40s.
Hey.
And a 1, and a 2.
Oh, you mean music? Yeah.
Are we talking about music?
The reason why it's hard for me to get along with these boy musicians is sometimes they're playing music, and I walk in the room and I'm like, "What's up, guys?"
Now you understand why I can't go to any of these musician parties.
Yeah, I didn't know these things existed, so it's great to know.
No, oh God, you saw that thing that I reposted about the whole
Jam
thing
sessions.
about jamming.
Yeah.
And that's like kind of those parties basically. It's
Okay.
like all
Just a bunch of musicians get together.
just
and
a bunch
they
of
bring
musicians, as in
instruments?
all guys. And they bring their instruments and they're playing and they're like taking requests
How
from
many
all
you
the
think?
guys.
Like 10?
Probably around 10.
Okay.
And they're like taking all these requests, and there was like one time where I was like, do you guys know this song? And they were like ignored me. And
Nice.
then finally I got one of them to like very obviously be like, all right, I guess we'll like
Play the
humor
girl
her.
song.
And and it was like sitting at the dock of the bay, like it wasn't even like a
Sure.
it wasn't like
Yeah.
a pop song.
Yeah.
Like I was like, you guys would like jamming to
It
this.
wasn't Kesha.
Yeah, like it wasn't Taylor Swift. It was
Sure.
like a good, good folk song. And so I was like, or blues. So I was sad that and then halfway through the song they stopped playing. They started playing something else.
Nice.
And
Yeah.
and that's just kind of been like my experience with those jam sessions.
Yeah, I feel like it's in general, like music is like a very intimate thing.
Yeah.
And there's a way that you can view it as very intimate, as like this is something that I do to like express my soul and express like the sounds that my heart makes. And so that's like a more sheepish way to go about it, and it requires this safety. And there's like another way to do it, which is a bit more like sportsy. Which is like, we're just gonna go around, throw the ball around. We're just going. We're just gonna head down the East Beach. We're gonna throw the ball around.
Yeah. That's interesting. That's a good way to put it.
And it's like, because I don't see music that way, I don't vibe with that. So I'm not like, and because I was so competitive athletically, when I got into music, I was like, oh, I'm actually making enemies. This isn't good.
This isn't the way to go about this.
Yeah, I'm actually hurting my chances of a good career because I'm being too competitive, and it's and that's totally unnecessary. So I kind of have this very different, like, also I just don't shred. I don't shred. So if you shred, you're welcome in any jam, because you can do that in the corner to Timbuktu. But
if you can't catch up.
Yeah, and if all of the harmonies are taken.
Yes, thank you.
And the chords are being played, then what do I
don't know why I'm there.
All right.
Yeah. Well, you got your foot tambourine and yeah. No, it's so true. And that is the one place that I will go is like background vocals. You got it. Because that's what I have to add in those situations. And sadly, that's what they expect of me. They're like, the girl, background.
The girl will accompany the man.
The girl will play tambourine or sing, but not at the same time. We don't want to confuse her.
Because, tambourines are...
With music.
And singing's like...
Yeah, it's like rubbing your stomach and patting your head.
You just can't do it.
Ask her to do that.
Would you be, and I feel like we're probably at around an hour, would you be interested in playing another song?
Yeah, sure.
Well, you can start whenever you want. I think
cool.
This guy's cool enough now.
All right, deal. Hold me gently, whisper through the phone. Time moves slowly, sleeping on our own. Gonna get a little lonely, gonna feel a little small, but I promise you it's only for barely any time at all. Please don't be afraid. I've got you engraved. Records, letters, books left on the shelf. Restless, dreamless, feel less like ourselves. Gonna get a little lonely, gonna feel a little small, but I promise you it's only for barely any time at all. Please don't be afraid. I've got you engraved.